Reportedly, Michelle Obama has said to several staffers of the White House, "The country doesn't deserve us." That's the question before us, isn't it? Do we in this nation have the guts to take responsibility for the very survival of our great republic? Do we have the courage to invoke Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to our Constitution, ousting Obama from office and moving on with the business of this great nation of ours? Or will we, through cowardice and moral degeneracy, get what cowardice and degeneracy deserves? The loss of our nation and the civilized world at the hands of this Obama administration. It is in our hands to determine whether or not we truly do deserve that fate. Mr. LaRouche, the world's most accurate economic forecaster to date, is saying that the clock has run out to make the political decisions necessary to get us out of this collapse, and reiterated that warning in this week's edition of the LPAC Weekly Report. As we get closer and closer to the boundary condition of the outright disintegration of the nation as a whole, this collapse is becoming more apparent to everyone. Cities, counties, and states are destitute. Police are understaffed and taking on volunteers. Fire departments are letting houses burn to the ground, while entire fields of employment have disappeared, and those who do have work wonder how long it will be till the threat of the pink slip comes their way. It isn't a foreclosures crisis. It's not a municipal budget crisis. And despite what Tiny Tim has to say, there ain't no strong and impressive healing of our nation's economy. What we're facing is a breakdown crisis of the physical economy of the world as a whole. Mr. LaRouche has identified this early on and has provided the necessary policies to pull our republic and, with cooperation, the rest of the world out of it, if we have the guts. If we demonstrate that we indeed do not deserve this Obama administration and the hell into which he would lead us. This is a depression, and our nation is dying. In the midst of this, as the threat of mass foreclosure returns to the front of the citizens' view, our presidency stands firm to condemn our citizens, sending someone out almost every day demanding that these millions of foreclosures be executed as quickly as possible so that we may boast of our great recovery. 1 out of every 14 households on the streets, millions of people out of work more than 99 weeks who have dropped out of the official statistics, cutbacks of the basic civic services of a civilized society, the murdering of our children's future by killing man's quest into space. Remember, too, that the man said we don't need that fancy new fusion technology. All of this is part of Obama's vision of a recovery. It seems to be a legitimate question. Do we indeed deserve this administration? At every turn, we've seen how Obama responds to crises. His response to the Haitian catastrophe was nothing. Let them figure it out on their own. To the oil spill in the Gulf, it was, again, nothing. Let BP figure it out. On the international drug trade, the primary source of funding for so-called international terror, the primary funding for the empire, really, it's been the same. Take no decisive action against the source. Now here, President Obama's response has been worse than simple negligence or incompetence. The Russians have, on several occasions, extended the hand of cooperation forward to deal with the drug trade at the source, especially as concerns Afghanistan, where, under British guidance, and with the complicity of the Obama administration's policy of letting the poppies alone, opium production has soared to new heights. And finally, when it seemed as if that hand of cooperation were to be clasped in return by these United States, in the person of now former National Security Advisor General James Jones, he's gone. Not 48 hours home from the conference in Sochi. This, while the profits from the drugs continue to fund the guns shooting at our troops overseas, and while the use of those drugs cripple our troops abroad and our citizenry at home. The question, I think, is valid. Do we deserve this Obama administration? The man is not fit to be president, and every day we leave him in office is not only a deadly serious danger to our republic and the world, but it really is cruel to him, as is becoming more and more apparent to those saner elements who have to work with him. Now, he's reportedly become increasingly despondent, smoking over a pack a day, leaving his prepared remarks to call himself a dog in public, our president, doing everything in his power to carefully control any public appearance to ensure that not a drop of the reality of the citizenry falls upon his ear, even to the point of casting actors for his town hall meetings. Must we reenact the entirety of Nero here in our United States today? Do we indeed deserve this presidency? If we do not act to reclaim our republic, then we, the people, do seem to deserve this administration. If we do not act with the greatest possible haste to get Mr. Obama out of the U.S. presidency, then we are no longer morally fit to survive, and the whole world goes to hell for generations. Now, I would tend to agree with Mrs. Obama's reported remarks. No, we don't deserve this presidency. We deserve much better than this. And even at this late hour, there are steps which we can take to this effect. Remove Obama with the greatest possible speed. Section 4 of the 25th Amendment of our Constitution will do this quite nicely. Get him out safe and sound. Let him go and golf to his little heart's content. It'll make him happy and give him something to live for, and that's important. Reinstate Glass-Steagall so that we can reorganize the banks and issue solid credit that won't be sucked up by these bankrupt investment houses, so that we can bankrupt the inner alpha group and be truly sovereign again as a nation. The key to the so-called foreclosure crisis, which is really an expression of the derivatives bubble, lies in this. Then, issue credit on an emergency basis to save our states from absolute dissolution. These states can't issue the credit themselves. Now, we've already had an initiative from the attorneys general of every state in the Union on the foreclosures nightmare, where they're attempting to fill the seat of responsibility left vacant by our United States Senate in investigating the systemic nature of the mortgage fraud. But the states can only do so much on their own. The seat of responsibility of the nation lies with the Congress as a whole. Take back that bailout of the financial system and fund the general welfare on an emergency basis.
So where are all these brave men, like the ones that fought the first revolution? They've been made mute by video games and football. They have been made effeminate by liberal upbringing into accepting the gay lifestyle. And they have been made into metrosexuals and neutered. It has been suggested that there are 10 million militia men and women in this country. That may be so. But do we have the men with the right kind of men, the men with the fortitude and principles, and men with big enough kahunas that they can stand up to authority and put them on the line? Or do we have men that will drop their arms because their mascara is running? Only time will tell, and may history favor the brave.